Hello, everybody. So here's a quick project that is easy to make, and you can make it with very minimal supplies. I took a piece of scrap wood that I had in my stash and painted it white, and then I took a stick from my yard and placed it on in the middle. Here's my attempt at trying to get it as centered as possible. So I actually used some of the tight bond glue and some hot glue to try and put it on there to make it stick. The tight bond will keep it nice and glued down forever, but the hot glue will give you an instant bond. And so and you try not to get it together. So you just try and do it so it's not touching each other. But I don't know how big a difference that really makes, to be honest. And here I'm just trying to wipe up some of that glue just to not have it on there and make it look a little bit neater. And I had bought some tweezers at the Dollar Tree, so I'm just getting those out. I'm going to use those to pick up some of that excess glue. So that's what I'm just doing there, getting rid of some of those strings. And I just bought a different glue gun that's got a more precision tip on it, so I'm hoping that that's going to maybe avoid some of that in the future. So here is my first bundle of twine. You just kind of wrap it around your fingers and then wrap it around the middle, kind of like you're making a bow. And you can tie it, or what I ended up doing is just kind of gluing the centers. If you tied it, it might be a little bit tighter than mine was. I don't think it matters that much, but that was one thing I noticed, that some of my centers maybe weren't as tight as they could have been. But I'm just cutting off some excess here and just gauging if I like the size. You just want to make each bundle just a little bit bigger as you're going down the tree. You don't want to make them huge, but just a little bit bigger. And so I just spread my fingers out just to do that. I had seen another creator do that, so that's what I did. And honestly, I don't remember how many times I wrapped it around. You could probably count it as you're watching if you really wanted to. But this is just what I did. Tried to get those even and to look nice. And here it shows me just gluing it. So I just kept doing that until I got all the way down the tree, and I just made my fingers spread apart a little bit bigger, and then I did have to go down my hand a little bit more just to get it in the right spot. But this is a nice, easy project, and you could make your background whatever color you wanted, uh, but this is just what I ended up doing. So there they all are. There ended up being 5 different lengths of the tree limbs. As I looked at this, I decided I really didn't like that stark white, so I took some burnt umber and put it on there, and I didn't like the way that looked either. So what you're going to see is I eventually wipe it with a baby wipe, and it gives me just a nice effect here. My dry brushing skills need a little bit of help. So I just put it on there, and then I wiped it with a baby wipe, and it gave me the exact effect that I wanted. So again, it doesn't really matter what the background is. You do you and do what you like. This is just how I did it. You can see that I'm kind of hesitating there, trying to figure out what I'm going to do to make it look better. And I liked this after it was all finished. It looks pretty nice. This is a really easy project. I think it would be easy. You could do it with your kids. You would just have to maybe use the glue gun, do that part of it, but it's a fairly easy project to do. So now I'm just going to paint this wooden star that I have, and I do rust it eventually with the cinnamon method, and Mod Podge. So you're going to see that here in a minute, where I took some, after I dried it, then I get some Mod Podge and get my cinnamon out and actually make it look rusty. I'm amazed how well that works, the little bit of rust. And I've looked at buying rusty stars, but this works pretty well, so I just keep doing this. But eventually I'll probably buy some. actual rusty stars. Just there, I'm just placing it where I think I'm going to like it. And then here in just a minute, you're going to see me with my Mod Podge. And this was just a small bottle I got from Dollar Tree. It doesn't matter, it's the glossy form. I just like those small bottles sometimes, so that's why I have that out. So I just cover that in the Mod Podge, and then I'm going to take the cinnamon and sprinkle it. I have to laugh there. That was my bottle of water I was drinking, and I think I came out to the shed that day and just wasn't even thinking of crafting. And so I didn't have anything to put my brush in. So that's why I used the bottle I was drinking. One of these days I'm going to pick up that bottle and drink out of it. So, all right. So here I'm just going to go ahead and attach these, and I have them in the order I think I want them. And I'm just trimming off some of the edges. And I did earlier, I kind of switched them up a little bit, but I just went ahead and put them on, just glued them right onto that twig. Made it just a nice rustic little tree. Putting everything together is always the fun part for me. So here I was trying to decide what I wanted to do at the bottom because it needed something. It needed a thicker, in my opinion, it needed a thicker trunk or something. So I got into my stash and I didn't like any of the options there. I just didn't like the way they looked. And so you'll see that I eventually just take a little piece of burlap and try to make it look like the tree is sitting in the burlap. And that's what I eventually am going to do here. I went ahead and put more Mod Podge on there. I think I just made the star just a little. This is kind of the finishing touch when you're doing a rusty tree, just to go ahead and, or rusting anything, to go ahead and put Mod Podge over it again. And you can get pretty inexpensive cinnamon, so. And make sure you cover up your cinnamon if you're going to dry it, or you'll end up with a real mess. And I do know from personal experience. So here's that little piece of burlap. And I just took and glued it on and tried to make it seem like a little basket or something. I probably could have done it just a little bit bigger. But this is how I ended up doing it. And maybe a little bit bigger one might have looked a little bit better, but I liked how it turned out in the end. Again, this was an impromptu craft when I wasn't planning, so crafting on the fly is kind of fun. Then I put the star on. And I cut off some of those those hairs. I know they kind of get on some people's nerves, the hair on the twine. But I really do like how that turned out. And then you'll see I just added a couple buttons and a pine cone I hope you like this. Take care.